For years, he was just another face in the crowd, another grinder trying to make it. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. He couldn't seem to lose. Hand after hand, session after session, his moves made no sense, but somehow always worked. Fans started calling him things like the Apostle and even the Devil. But behind the scenes, whispers turned into doubts. Was he really that good? Or was something else at play? This is the story of the man who tore the poker world apart. Mike Postle was born on December 26, 1976, in northern Wisconsin. Growing up with 5 siblings, games were never just for fun. Money was always on the line. Even Monopoly meant real cash. By the time he turned 18, he took a job at a local Indian casino, first making change, then dealing cards. That's when poker became his obsession. Chasing bigger games, he moved to Tunica, Mississippi in the early 2000s, one of the country's poker hotbeds. There, Postle sharpened his instincts and realized playing was far more profitable than dealing. By the mid-2000s, he was part of the Sacramento poker scene, solid enough to survive, but far from remarkable until 2018. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. That summer, at Stone's Gambling Hall, Postle went on a jaw-dropping winning streak. The guy who'd always flown under the radar was suddenly dominating live-stream Texas Hold'em games, raking in thousands and outplaying seasoned pros like it was nothing. Stone's wasn't Vegas, but its live stream drew in big names. And whenever Postle played, he was treated like a star, nicknamed Apostle or the Devil, with halos and horns in the graphics. The hometown grinder quickly became a cult figure. For months, the story never changed. Postle played as if he could see through the cards. To fans, it looked magical. To pros, nearly impossible. What was his trick? Enter Veronica Brill. By day, a medical software pro. By night, a Stones player and live stream commentator. She'd lost to Postle, but instead of shrugging it off, she started asking the questions nobody else dared. By early 2019, Brill was convinced something was off. Postle's decisions didn't just defy odds, they defied GTO itself, the game's mathematical blueprint. Even the best pros, armed with hours of study, still make mistakes. But Postle, he played like luck. And error didn't exist. Yet Postle's play looked almost too perfect, like he was running the same winning script over and over. He'd make these bizarre calls, fold in spots that made no sense, and still always walk away on top. To Brill, the only thing that added up was that Postle had access to more information than anyone else sitting at that table. In March 2019, she confronted Stones' director, Justin Caraitis, about Postle accessing RFID data used for the livestream. He dismissed her. Stones is airtight. Postle's just brilliant, and told the same to other players. But Brill wasn't alone in her doubts. Other pros like Casey Mills and Jake Rosensteel voiced their own concerns, warning management that something about Postle's run felt impossible. Each time, they got the same response. Stones was secure, Postle was just gifted, and anyone who questioned it didn't understand greatness when they saw it. That summer, rumors swirled. Then came September 21st, 2019. Postle returned to Stones, glowing under the Twitch lights, his chip stack towering. Pros had flown in with tens of thousands in cash, but all eyes were on him. Midway through the session, he went up against Marley Cordero, a Las Vegas pro with a big online following. Postle was dealt Queen Jack. The flop came down 8-9 Jack, giving him top pair and a straight draw, exactly the kind of hand pros live for. Cordero fired out a $600 bet, and everyone watching expected Postle to raise or at least call. Instead, he sat frozen in his chair, hand on his shoulder, lips pursed in thought. Then, against all logic, he folded. The commentators reacted in completely different ways. Justin Kelly, in the booth, gushed about Postle's brilliance, calling him a freak of nature. But Brill wasn't buying it. Shaking her head, she muttered under her breath that it didn't make sense, that it was like Postle already knew what Cordero was holding. And sure enough, she had the nuts. A queen high straight that gave her a 96% chance of winning the hand. Driving home that night, Brill couldn't shake the moment. She had finally said out loud what she'd been thinking for months, and now there was no going back. Postle wasn't just a friend anymore. He was a problem she couldn't ignore. A week later, on September 28th, she went public with an 18-minute Twitter video exposing Postle's most suspicious plays. She admitted uncertainty, but suggested cheating was likely, citing his sky-high VIPP, impossible folds, and even a possible hidden device. The poker world exploded. Postle's phone rang nonstop. Furious, he denied everything, firing angry texts at Brill while boasting about crushing pros and making millions online. But his wrath was only the start. Now the entire poker community was coming for her. As the poker world was lining up to tear Brill apart on October 1st, one of the game's biggest names stepped in to back her. Joey Ingram, a respected player and host of the Poker Life podcast, had taken an interest in the video Brill put together showing all of Mike Postle's suspicious hands. At first, he didn't buy into it, but curiosity got the better of him, so he pulled up an old game from Stone's YouTube channel. That quick peek turned into a full-blown rabbit hole. The more he watched, the crazier it looked. Postle wasn't just running hot, he was winning in ways that flat out made no sense. By the time Ingram wrapped up his first deep dive, he was convinced something was seriously wrong. And at about 4 a.m. that same day, he went live. What started as one stream quickly snowballed into must-see TV, part poker breakdown, part detective series, and the entire community couldn't look away. On October 3rd, ESPN's Scott Van Pelt dedicated 3.5 minutes on SportsCenter to the story. He asked the question on everyone's mind: if Postle was truly this good, why was he playing in low-stakes games at Stone's instead of crushing the high roller tables in Las Vegas? Under pressure, Postle tried to fight back. On October 4th, he appeared on Mike "The Mouth" Matusau's podcast, but instead of clearing his name, he rambled. He insisted that jealous players were targeting him and claimed his strategy was creative and diabolical, something no book could explain. His vague answers only made things worse, and soon strangers were showing up at his home, threatening him and terrifying his young daughter. As October rolled on, the central question hung in the air: how was he pulling this off? That's when Andrew Milner, the Australian inventor of the RFID poker table, stepped in. Milner ruled out the idea of Postle hacking into the encrypted signal, but floated two other possibilities: a hidden camera in the broadcast room, or more likely, an inside job. Security at Stone's control room was notoriously loose, with people coming and going freely, even bringing in masseuses while games were being streamed. By October 8th, things had blown up into a $30 million federal lawsuit. Veronica Brill, along with 87 other players, accused Postle, Stone's, and tournament director Justin Caratus of fraud and negligence. Their lawyer, Mac Verstandig, didn't sugarcoat it. Postle's win rate wasn't just impressive, it was flat out unheard of in poker history. The lawsuit floated a few possible methods: maybe a phone hidden under the table, maybe something in his hat, or even an insider feeding him information from the broadcast booth. But then, on June 4th, 2020, the case took a stunning twist. A federal judge dismissed it, ruling that under California law, poker players can't sue to recover gambling losses. Just like that, Postle was off the hook. Then, a few months after the first case got tossed out, things took another wild turn. About 60 of the players who had sued decided to settle with Stone's Gambling Hall and Justin Caratus. That deal must have lit a fire under Mike Postle, because not long after, he came back swinging with a monster $360 million lawsuit of his own. And he wasn't just aiming at the casino this time. He went after some of the biggest names in poker. Even ESPN got pulled into it, along with Veronica Brill, the very person who sparked the whole thing by calling him out. But as the case dragged on, Postle's own lawyer bailed, telling the court he couldn't even find his client. Brill and poker pro Todd Whittles fired back with anti-slap motions, a California law designed to protect people from frivolous lawsuits meant to intimidate them. Postle, now on his own, asked for delay after delay, claiming he was looking for new representation. Eventually, he tried to dismiss his own lawsuit altogether, but the anti-slap motion stuck. In the end, Brill and Whittles won, with the court ordering Postle to pay their legal fees. After that, Postle vanished. For years, it was like he'd been erased from the poker world, completely off the grid. But then, out of nowhere in January 2023, he popped back up in Biloxi, Mississippi, entering the $1 Million Heater poker series at the Beau Rivage. Only this time, he wasn't Mike Postle. He signed up under the name Michael Lawrence. Players said he tried to keep a low profile with a whole disguise, fake nose, hoodie pulled tight, and later even a medical mask when he made the final table. But the cover-up didn't stop him from making a run. Postle ended up finishing 7th, pocketing $32,703. News of Postle's return spread like wildfire. Many in the poker world were furious that he was allowed to play at all, especially since he still owed Brill and Whittles over $25,000 in legal fees. Brill even scrambled to see if there was a way to claim some of his winnings in Mississippi, but it was too late to act. Whether Postle stages a comeback is unclear. Legally, he can play. He was never convicted, but in poker, reputation is everything, and his is scarred. What truly happened at Stones may never be known, but one thing's certain: mention Mike Postle, and opinions split, either the unluckiest accused man in poker or its boldest cheat.